Hello, good evening, everyone. Firstly, thank you, all of you, for coming this evening. And thank you for your support and always your attendance to all our events. I would like to thank also IFZA today for having us again. We are here like home, more or less. We are going to repeat again and again. This is our first, from the Spanish Business Council, this is our first streaming event. So I hope that everything is going to go fine and good with no technical problems. But if there is some issues, please apologize. We are learning. I would ask if you kindly engage with us and make your questions here and even on Zoom, okay? The interview will be posted later on YouTube also, and you can watch there if you need later, okay? So I give the floor to Guillermo Prado from IFZA. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Marta. Thanks a lot, everyone, for coming. We are very happy to host this event. I'm Guillermo. I'm from IFZA, a client engagement manager. So basically, IFZA stands for International Free Authority. We are the leader free zone right now in UAE. And we work hand to hand with our professional partners to bring and set up business here in UAE. So anything you need, we will be happy to assist. I would like to introduce you to Christelle Boeri as the board member of Esade Alumni UAE Chapter. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to this remarkable event exploring renewable energy transition and investment opportunities, organized by Esade Alumni UAE Chapter and Esade Alumni Energy and Environment Club. We are very grateful for the support that the Spanish Business Council and IFZA has provided, and for the virtual audience joining us remotely. Today's gathering not only signifies our commitment to fostering communication around sustainability, but it also highlights our dedication to facilitating meaningful connection within our community. So first, I would like to extend a warm welcome to Judith Bigbo, who came all the way from Barcelona to here to engage with us in this event. So please network with her, meet her after, during the networking part, in case you are interested in an Esade program or if your company is currently hiring. Second, I would like to introduce and welcome Nuno Vilaccia, Eva Sole, and Valentino, who didn't arrive yet, to our board member. The team is currently formed of Federico Ruiz, Nibin Hussein, and myself. So welcome on board. In the spirit of collaboration, I am honored today to introduce Jon Salazar, the visionary mind behind Gazelle, a groundbreaking hybrid floating platform designed to transition the global and accelerate the global transition of renewable energy. I would also like to introduce Federico Ruiz, the president of our alumni chapter in the UAE, and the founder of Live Investment, a company committed to real estate investment within the UAE and Spain. So today, Jon will walk us through his success story that started 6 years ago in Ajman, and which has witnessed remarkable financial value growth. And drawing from personal acquaintance, Federico will be asking him questions, interviewing him, so that he can talk more about the changes and challenges that he has faced during his journey, and how he was able to change all of these obstacles and transform them to opportunities. And not only opportunity, how he was able to be an inspiration to everyone around him, including Fede himself. So Jon was not only a great mentor to Federico, he was also a catalyst for his success. Federico will be walking us also through his story, how he started his successful story by doing personal investment, which were very rewarding and led to the creation of Live Investment. And Live Investment Company doesn't only reflect Federico's entrepreneurial skills and spirit, It also empowers us all to invest to foster a financial growth for all of us. So Fed, we will learn more about their stories, and thank you again for being here. And I hope the session will be as successful as their stories and companies. Thank you.
Thanks everybody for coming. I know that it was a little bit hectic, traffic jams and so on. So everybody who made it and who made it on time, congratulations. And thanks everybody for being here. Thanks, Christelle, for the nice introduction. Thanks everybody in Esade alumni, in Esade board members, and also Judith and company for coming from Barcelona. I would like to extend as well my thanks to Isabel Basas from Energy Club in Esade, that she couldn't make it. She only had 4 days of commitment in the whole year for doing something personal. And it was this is one of the 4 days. So she couldn't stay, but she prepared with the entire Energy Club this event so thoughtfully. And well, I want to thank all of them again. Thanks, Marta and the Spanish Business Council. You are super supportive always. Thanks for all the ads that you do in Instagram. You are promoting every activity very well. I like to attend the breakfast in the Spanish Business Council because it's always very nice. And the promotion that you all did, the team in the Spanish Business Council, it's amazing. So congratulations for that. And last but not least, thanks, Jon Salazar, for coming today. The very first question that I have to you for you, and I was looking forward to do it, is how are you?
Well, thanks a lot, Fede. I'm super happy to be here with you after all these last years. And thanks a lot for having me. Thanks a lot to IFZA. Thanks a lot for the Spanish Business Council and to Esade. Very pleased to be here speaking today about renewable energy and this transition.
Yeah, it's been like we met 7 years ago through an Spanish investment club that Jon was one of the co-founders with 2 more people. And they came to Dubai one day and we met. And when I speak to Jon more in deep, and he told me that, where do you live, in Marina, JLT, or where? And he told me in Achman. And I was like, oh, wow, this guy, it's a special. For sure, it's a special. I'm sure that I can learn something from him. So your story started in Achman, right? You were coming from the Heathrow airport. You were working for a corporation and you decided to stop working for them. And you started from scratch. I remember our meetings in Achman in a very nice restaurant that it's there and it's cheap. The problem is it's in Achman, but it's cheap and very nice. And in Corniche. And we were speaking and he told me, like, I have an idea. I want to build something. I have some patents from some relatives that he has. And now we have Gazelle Wind Power here with a lot of millions in financing round. So please let us know some numbers about Gazelle.
Well, to share with you and all the audience, and welcome everybody, and welcome everyone online. I'm happy to share with you my founder story, or how from Ashman to Alain today. My main residence is in the US in Alain. I've been here for 6 years now. And so I come from a family from the Basque Country, in fact, from a small town in the north of Spain. If you go 500 years ago, the first vessel that successfully circumnavigated the world, it was called the Victory. And it's one of the greatest stories of entrepreneurship ever to me. It's the story of Magalis and Elcano. The first time we were able to circumnavigate the world. So my family comes from that hometown, from the place where the first vessel that did that was built. Okay. A few hundred years ago, we used to go to Terra Nova, and then all the fat whale industry. It was huge, and that was the energy industry. You used to go to Canada, hunt whales, bring back the whales to Europe, and that was the way the world was powered. It was a huge industry as today EV. So my family comes from that background. My father was a naval engineer. My grandfather used to own a shipyard. My uncle is a very well-known naval engineer. So I come from that. I met my uncle, who inspired me to become an engineer when I was 7 years old. Mm-hmm. And I became an engineer, telecom, electrical, and software, and started in Madrid. Started my career in Big Four in Deloitte, then I went to UK. I did all sorts of deals. I think before we were having a great chat before the conference started. I've done all sorts of things, from buying umbrellas on a rainy day and going to a concert and selling the umbrellas, to a lot of the deals that we did, for instance, in the Investors Club. Different
During the
club,
COVID, you buy some equipment for gym and you sell it in the.
We did all sorts of things that deliver a lot of skills. And I'm talking to you when you are 18, 19, 20, 21, 22 years old. No? You start from scratch doing that. Making a long story short, we built one of the largest financial literacy communities in the Spanish-speaking language. At some point, we had clients in more than 32 countries. You were here in the UAE. We're sharing ways to manage finance from the point of view of you being your own shepherd of that finance.
Yeah.
And we had that Investors Club, and that's how that you and me we started doing some deals, some real estate.
7 years ago. Yeah.
Indeed. You can also share some story of
some.
the company you acquired here too.
Yeah.
That was in Sharjah, right?
Exactly.
In Sharjah too. So you have
Following your example, Ajman, I
Right.
say no. I
That's
will
right.
go for
So-
the big city, Sharjah.
So you've been in the wild west too for a long time. Well, making a long story short, that was a profitable business. I ended exiting, and in December 2020, I was the first investor in Gazelle Wind Power, and I can share with you more about the equity story, where we are during this very family-friendly chat we're going to have all together today. But yes, I founded Gazelle in December 2020. We are now considered one of the most promising, most innovative companies delivering solutions for the floating offshore wind industry.
Okay, we will talk about, all the elevator pitch that you did all around the world, not for having hundreds of thousands of dollars, but millions and millions. And it happened in the last 7 years. In fact, during the last 2 years, it was very difficult to meet Jon because every time I call him, he's somewhere around the world. So we did this meeting just for our friendship to continue, because otherwise it's impossible to meet him. But do you want to, I think you bring
Sure.
a presentation and probably you have.
Let me give you some context about
Sure.
what we are doing, so then we can follow all better. But let me also start. To me, it's very important to say we are now in a crucial moment in mankind. That's the reality. We are in a moment where we are transitioning from a fossil fuel reality to a totally decarbonized world. And this needs to happen not because of some KPI from a corporate or a company or because a government needs to push it. This is a matter of survival. This planet we are living is a gem. It's the only planet where we can stay as of today. And it's very important that we push and we accelerate to deliver that transition. One of the most important pieces in this energy transition is we need to increase the output of renewable energy. We were speaking, our friend from Egypt, Esade Alumni, and I were speaking before. I recall last year in COP27 in Sharm el Sheikh. I recall I was going to a panel like this, and I crossed the innovation pavilion. And the innovation pavilion, there was a number that said 12%. And 12%, that's the amount of electricity generated, the output of electricity generated by renewable energy. Well, we need to increase that significantly. And if you look at that 12%, being very, very vague, very general, that's mostly solar and wind. You have other sources of electricity, but solar and wind are key. And in this energy transition, to me, it's like a big puzzle. There are many pieces. I am obsessed with solving one piece, which is bringing down the levelized cost of electricity for floating offshore wind power. Some of you may think, what is this floating offshore wind power? That's what I'm going to show you in the next few minutes. But that will play a very important role. Other entrepreneurs, other investors, other leaders are obsessed with other pieces of that puzzle. And at some point, we will need to connect all those pieces. As my friend Felix Chang, the co-founder of Envision Group, amazing story as well, one of the largest OEMs and developers from China, says we need to deliver that cost of synergy, or how each of us that we are obsessed with this piece will need to connect our pieces with the other. And we need to do this as soon as humanly possible. We need to do this with a sense of urgency within the next 20-25 years. It's a colossal effort to do this. So I'm focused on my piece, on that specific piece, and all these efforts are focused on that piece. I believe a lot in staying focused, focusing on the few, not the many. And that's why I exited the other companies and I took that risk and I became the first investor in Gazelle. I'm the founder and CEO of Gazelle Wind Power. And well, here you can see at Gazelle, we stand up, right? Yeah, we can stand. At Gazelle, we are fully focused on delivering best-in-class product for the floating foundation and the mooring systems to keep wind turbines that for the latest model, for the latest generations, at 50 megawatt scale and even beyond, are as tall as the Eiffel Tower. So we are placing turbines that are moving on the sea, on very, very rough environments. And what we are defining and what we own all proprietary technology is for the floating foundation and the moorings. And this accounts between 30 and 40% of the total cost of a floating offshore wind project. These are projects that an average project of let's say 1.05 gigawatt that can consist of 70 wind turbines at that scale, and it's a several $billion investment. So these are massive projects, and having all the different technical expertise, capability, all the quality management systems are totally essential, and working as well with all the supply chain is absolutely essential. So that's what we are mostly focused on Gazelle. Now, as I said before, we need to move forward rapidly as soon as humanly possible. We need to move, if we want to stay on track with the 1.5 degrees global warming scenario from pre-industrial levels, we need to deliver over 300 gigawatts of offshore wind within the next 2 decades. And now we need to move from less than 225 megawatt installed capacity of floating wind to deliver all this pipeline. So that's massive. On this slide, you can see, on the one hand, you can see some of the markets where Gazelle has already achieved different level of traction. And this is very important to understand our business model if you want to deep dive later on. But depending on 4 factors, depending on the wind, the current, the tide, and the waves, you need to do bespoke engineering. You cannot simply do a floating foundation that works for the west coast of the US, and it will work for Portugal, and it will work for South China Sea or for Japan. Because in Japan, we will face typhoons and seismic activity. In Portugal, we are facing waves in excess of 23-meter height with a lot of energy, a lot of power. In the west coast of the US or in Hawaii, you need to deliver this at more than 1,000-meter water depths. So it's a different configuration. And you need to do that bespoke like a suit. It's very, very important. So that's on the one hand. On the other hand, we own our proprietary technology. The technology I'm going to show you in the next few minutes. We own all the patents, and that's one of our key strengths. We are very strong from that innovative point of view. And the technology you're going to see now is considered one of the most innovative technologies in floating offshore wind globally at this stage. We will distribute this video with audio, and this is public. You can look at this in our website, gazelewindpower.com. But the technology has been tested and proven robust and independently certified by different parties. And what I wanted to show you here is the principle, or how you can balance a turbine that, as I said before, can be more than 180 meters high to the nacelle. And if you measure the blades, this can be 230 meters high. So if you go to Paris, I like to use that example. They think of the Eiffel Tower, because that's how high these solutions are. So with this system, we are able to balance significantly the turbine and place it on deep waters. And by deep waters, I mean more than 60 meters from the surface level of the sea to the seabed. And that's where the magic is, because over 83% of the wind resource globally is on deep sea waters. So it's untapped potential that we need to move there as soon as possible. We could place these turbines 5 kilometers farther from shore, or 15 or 20 or 50 or 100 kilometers from shore, or 200 kilometers from shore. There are different challenges depending on how far you are from shore. But when you are more than 20 kilometers farther from shore, you cannot see these solutions. So you don't have that social impact. It's very important also to coexist, because we are not with other stakeholders, because we are not alone at sea. There are fisheries. In Japan, for instance, there are more than 130,000 fisheries, and we need to protect those marine ecosystems. There are in other places there are military bases, defense bases. There are other projects, so we need to coexist with all these stakeholders. And when we go farther offshore, also something very important in the context of renewable energy happens, which is the winds are stronger, less intermittent. One of the biggest problems of renewable energy is intermittency. If you look at solar projects, it is very difficult to get more than 20% capacity factor. If you look at wind power onshore, similarly, it's very difficult to get more than 30% capacity factor. With floating offshore wind, we already have examples when we can reach, for instance, there are some projects in the North Sea, we reach almost 70% capacity factor. So these are solutions that can be way more efficient and can be operating well, that day and night all the time. So that's what we are doing. I'll simply share two more messages and then we'll sit back, but I believe it's important to give you some context also to follow our discussion today about what we are doing. And the fact is, Gazelle is a truly innovative technology. And when you have a truly innovative technology, what that means, in terms of bringing down the LCOE, that's the key. We need to ensure that floating wind is competitive with other sources of energy in countries where this is a critical matter for energy security. Again, I mentioned Japan again. Japan, this is critical for the energy transition and energy security. So when you have a truly innovative technology, you have the potential or the promise to bring down the LCOE. That in contracts, other companies, other technologies that come from offshore oil and gas, they have not been able to do or to realize in the last 25 years. So that's the first. Also, it's important that we are patenting specific components that's more related to our business model, and we could get further down in supply chain. My last message is this one: is everyone is looking not only to this is already the industry has already demonstrated that these solutions can float and survive. Now everyone is looking here for the Henry Ford moment. We need to do this in a way that is mass producible. We need to do this in a way where it can be mass manufactured, mass assembled, mass installed. The magic number is 40. We need to be able to deliver 40 units per year per project in order to achieve this type of sustainability development goals that we were discussing before. So it's not only about showing floatability or surveillance, the ability to survive. That's already been demonstrated. We need to be able to do this Henry Ford moment. And the promise that Gazelle resembles has attracted significant leadership to the board. Our chairman is Dr. Cavada, who is the CEO of Mitsubishi Power for Middle East and Africa. I will not go through all our members or execs. David is the head of M&A from Iberdrola and corporate development from Iberdrola. He was recently in the news from the deal they did with Masdar here, and that was announced during the last COP. And the company is generating revenue, and we can discuss more about the business model as well. The scalability comes from licensing all this technology. We provide design and engineering services, and we are also in the future, we see ourselves developing projects. At the moment, we are developing a project in Portugal. Some of our shareholders are very keen on us further down the line to co-develop projects. And we aim to do this all in alignment with Sustainability Development Goals 13 and 7 for climate action change and clean affordable energy. So 10,000 meter view. This is what we are doing. This is where we are focused now on Gazelle Wind Power. Well, very happy to answer your questions, Fede, or any questions from the audience. I know there are some entrepreneurs in the audience. Yes, please.
Later, next subject, company industry. The other side of it is to protect the
Yes, that's right.
We have located very correctly locations, and I saw this I-ring, O-ring, right? So it's very difficult, maybe, to get the highest rate.
So that depends.
So the movement and the balancing do this with the O-ring, which connects to the foundation of the
So that depends on the type of seabed, because we work in seabeds that are very muddy, others are more sandy, others are more rocky. So we work with EPCA companies such as yourself, and we define the anchoring system. So in addition to wind, current, waves, and tides, you define the mooring systems according to the type of anchoring system. But that's already been that's not novel technology. There are the frequencies depending on the type of seabed. That's something that we study a lot, and depending on the location where we're doing these projects, we are anchor agnostic very much. And what you have is 3 arms, and the arms we have redundancy. So you have 2 lines per arm. We're moving more towards synthetics instead of using steel catenary chains. Our CTO is the former head of innovation from Brydon Beckard, who is the leader in moorings. And basically, we define that bespoke for the type of environment.
Okay, then one question more. How many years do you calculate it? So on 50 or on 25? Or?
So that's defined by the wind turbine. We work with leading OEMs, So we are working with leading OEMs in Europe, with companies like Vestas, for example. And normally our role is to ensure that the power curve of the turbine is not affected by our floating foundation. So at the moment, the industry is targeting 25, 30 years, but when we do this, we work with standards. We work in Europe with companies like DNV, in Japan with Class K, in the US with ABS. And basically, you do this for the 50-year wave, the 50 or the 100-year wave. So the worst possible condition you can have in 50 years, that's how we design all our standards. The moorings at the moment, with this latest innovation, we can have 100 years in terms of fatigue because you only have bending fatigue.
Okay, my last question there for this one is how much can you in inclination? So how much inclination are you allowing? Are you allowing inclination like 5% or?
So that depends on the turbine specifications between 6 and 8 degrees. That's what the latest turbine is. 6 and 8 degrees. That's what the OEMs, the original equipment manufacturers, are letting us know. At Gazelle, we can have a pitch of less than 1 degree, 1.5 degrees. It's a very, very stable solution. It's passive. We get rid of active ballast systems, which are very complex to manufacture and assemble. And basically, it's similar. You can think about, I'm sure you've seen some buildings, like in Japan, there are buildings to prevent earthquakes, like with a pendulum. So it's totally passive. And that's the brilliancy of this idea. I'm not the inventor of this idea. The inventor was my uncle, which I mentioned when I met him when I was 7 years old. And he's a champion of mathematical Olympics, a gold medalist in the 70s. And he was the lead hydro for the Spanish team for the America's Cup sailing competition. And that's the reason why I started this, because I was in Ashman doing deals with this gentleman in our investors club, and I was having a lot of fun with that. But I wanted to help my uncle, who had been working on this idea, on the patent, since 2008, something like that. He's an inventor. I got obsessed with this, and I realized I didn't have the industry expertise, so I had to start from scratch. I was sending 500 LinkedIn messages a week to industry experts, to the risk myself, because I had to understand if this solution was better, unique, or different. So I had to de-risk myself, and I was also recruiting the best of the best of the best. I was setting a board of directors, and I was looking for talent. So in the process, I got obsessed. I realized this was very unique, very unique. And then I exited my other companies. I became the first investor, December 2020. And now we are at a stage where we have significant shareholders, institutional, strategic ones, big responsibility on our shoulders too, with the different subsidiaries, clients, commercial contracts. That's part of the story, but this is only, to me, it's chapter 1. We have to demonstrate.
Congratulations. Maybe we can work a little bit more together. I will talk a little bit more later on.
This is chapter 1. We have a long path to follow during the next 10,
let's give,
years.
if you don't mind, the questions and answers for the so we can follow the program. Thank you for your questions, by the way, and thanks for your presentation, Jon. So,
this is something.
Yeah, I will zoom up into the congratulations. You did that in 7 years. It's absolutely.
Well, it's in 3.
Yeah, it's absolutely amazing.
But still, we need to move faster. And as I said before, the world needs this. And I wake up every day suffering in pain because I want all this vision to be realized. And we are still very far away from the vision we have. So we haven't done, to me, we are step 1 out of 10. We haven't done anything at all. We still have to push a lot.
So you came from UK already with the idea, or how did you develop that idea, and why UAE? Why did you come to UAE first?
In the UK, I already wanted to jump 100% into entrepreneurship. And in the UK, those were tough times to me, because back then I was working for a corporate, and I was saving like 90% of my income, so living a very Spartan life. And I was working on the 9 to 5, and after 5, working until 1 or 2 a.m. And those were tough times back then. But I really wanted to be focused 100%. With that, as you know, I co-founded some of the businesses within the IFP, the financial literacy community. So I partnered with our former colleagues, Dimitri and Pau. Yeah. And then that gave me the ability to work remotely. And then I wanted to go out of Europe and see different parts of the world with my own eyes. I wanted to expose myself to different culture, to different vision. So the opportunity to come to the UAE arise. We were doing different deals in healthcare also. and I had no clue about Ashman and what is this Ashman thing. I remember, I'm sure you've been to Ashman. It's very different from Dubai. I love Ashman because it gave me a lot. Yeah. Right. So the thing it gave me the most is being exposed to all that international culture, and you see people that are really hungry, and I think that's very positive. And I think that was something being lost in Europe or more of the Western world. And coming here and finding people that were taking risks and that they were really hardworking and they were hungry. And that's what I take from my years in Ashman the most.
Was Ashman probably part of this strategy from you to live on the very basis and then save all the money that you can for?
At that point, no. At that point, no, because we were already generating profits with the other business. It was more, if you can work from anywhere in the world, I wanted to see what's going on here. And also this place is an international hub. So in those years, I travel a lot because I wanted to know all these people that are here from different cultures. I wanted to travel and visit those countries and understand that more. So that's part of the Ashman story. But I was living in the Corniche of Ashman.
Yeah. The posh. Yeah.
Not that
so,
so,
well, something that you must remember about Jon, and he will, I mean, in many meetings that we had, and he was a mentor for me. And he always repeated the same thing, focus. I think focus is the main thing that you always keep. And how did you maintain your focus while, I mean, there is no results for a very long period of time. How do you wake up every day and focus on that, being in Ashman with?
Well, that's one of the things that this country has given me a lot too. So from Ashman, the last 3 years I've been living in Alain. So from Ashman to Alain, that's not very common too. And I'll say first, you need to find something that is worth it to focus on and take the risk. Because it's very scary to me. It was very scary to having a profitable business and a lifestyle cash flow generating business, which is what many people want, to take the risk to start this. That was a big risk. I think first, you need to be connected to something greater from you, or something, and then you find the vehicle to deliver that. So to me, I'm here now. The reason why I want to wake up is to accelerate renewable energy now through floating wind. That's my obsession. And this is only a vehicle for me to do that.
Yeah.
So I think you need to be connected to something big, greater than yourself, greater than money, greater than whatever you're looking for, and you find the right vehicle.
And what were the main challenges that you found in your journey to keep focus and to keep thinking in something greater than yourself?
I think this is like doing something like this. This is not lifestyle cash flow generating business. This is quite a complex project. We are dealing, we have someone in the audience building bridges and doing complex projects. These are very complex engineering projects, very, very complex projects with huge capex investment initially. You need to deliver all the major component replacement strategy from the OpEx point of view as well. These are offshore marine operations, very tough. So to me, this is like going to win the gold medal in the next Olympics. So if you want to win the gold medal in the next Olympics, you need to, basically you wake up, let's say you want to be like Phelps and you want to win the medal in swimming. Well, you need to wake up and you need to go to the swimming pool and then you need to eat something to recover and you go back to sleep and you go back to the swimming pool and you eat and you sleep and you go back to the swimming pool and you eat and you sleep and that's the type of focus that requires doing something like this. And then I think anyone needs to screw their heads in their own way. What works for me may not work for you. I found my way to, I do different things, as you know, and I think back in the Investors Club, I used to do this too. I like to do my affirmations.
Yeah,
I have it here. I mimic that from the Greeks, the Olympians, 2,000 years ago, the Greeks, when they were preparing for the Olympians, they used to do like their affirmations, and that focuses, say, your reticular activation system or your filter. It focuses on those opportunities. Okay. So I believe in that. I believe in being a creator of my own destiny, and I think you can program that. So I do that every morning before I go to sleep. I still do it. I do my weekly report to myself.
Wow.
Where I measure everything from I wake up in the morning till I go to sleep. How I spent every hour, with who I have been, all the objectives, all the goals, what are my obstacles, what are the solutions for those obstacles.
Some people were calling me crazy just because I have a very big Excel with all the groceries stuff to control my finance. This guy is doing the same for the time, huh? So just take note of that.
I think everyone needs to find their own
To
thing.
find, absolutely. Yeah.
What works for me may not work for you, and you need to do whatever it takes so you are focused. And for some people, maybe different. Maybe spending time with your family, or maybe going and have things with your friends, or whatever. No, to me,
I have some questions for habits, and also I like to reflect a lot, and Jon and I share a lot of like best practice to being focused, and also something that you will learn from him that we were repeating, or you were repeating with Pau and Dimitri, is take action, and take action. That's the main thing that you taught me, focus and taking action. We will talk about that. So, but when you were taking this action, how did you find UAE in terms of it was easier to start building something from UAE? Did you find, because it is said in UAE, of course, there is a lot of money, there could be a lot of investors, but in the end, you formed your board of directors and equity from the outside, if I think, right? So let us know about UAE.
For this venture that the UAE gave me is, I love the ambition and the vision. It's amazing what this country has done in the last 30 years, 40 years. It's amazing. I love that. I love the fact that you can find mentors and people that has been there, has done it. Some people helped me along the way, helping to think that way. There is a strong supply chain here. If we want to manufacture, mass produce, there are also large energy companies here in the UAE that are keen to do offshore wind projects abroad, certainly. But in terms of, I'll be very blunt also, doing this business in the UAE is like selling ice to the Eskimos. It's the worst possible place on earth where you can start this business. The worst, because you don't have floating offshore wind potential. There are some pockets in Oman, there are some pockets in Saudi Arabia, but those supply chains, the Omani supply chain is not developed yet. It's a market I look forward to the next decade. And similarly to the Saudi one, there's a lot of onshore and solar potential still in Saudi. So the starts of Gazelle were very tough. This is a COVID company. So this company was started during COVID. Yeah. You couldn't go anywhere. I was in my Ashman Tower. But I think that's also very, I think that should empower an entrepreneur to remove all the excuses. Like, doesn't matter where you are, because we are so lucky that in the 70s, the 90s, 20 years ago, all the infrastructure to create an internet company was built, and then you have the payment system. So you can start a company from anywhere in the world at the moment, and at least an internet company, or start the germ of a company like Gazelle from anywhere in the world. No one has an excuse as long as they have an access to internet. Yeah. And then, well, of course, you need to get there, right? Yeah. You need capital. You need to raise the capital. You need to save your lifestyle. But that's what the UAE gave me. And then bear in mind, this is a new industry. You have to figure out where you need to go for doing this industry. So yeah. To me, there are three big areas now. As I said before, you have the west coast of the US, California. You have some pockets in Canada, in Nova Scotia, New Zealand. Places like Brazil and Colombia have a lot of potential. Then Europe, Southern Europe, France, Italy, Spain, Portugal. You have the Celtic Sea and the North Sea in the UK. Greece is coming also. And then you have the Far East, places like Japan, South Korea, Taiwan. You have Australia. You will have the Philippines with average water depths of more than 300 meters. South China Sea, of course. Yeah. So it was tough to start this from COVID. But you need to find for your venture where you need to be. And I'm not saying this country for renewable energy, you can deliver amazing solutions, but for floating wind, it was like I said before, like selling ice to the Eskimos. Don't do it. Yeah. And in terms of raising capital, very tough. In terms of risk capital, if you are starting and you want to raise seed capital or do Series A, unless it's very industry specific, and there are trends. The last few years, there's been a lot of interest in fintech in this country. Now, sustainability is coming up more. But I would say, don't think that you're going to come to Dubai and you're going to raise a lot of capital, because the mindset sometimes is very risk averse. And you need to find the right investors depending on the stage where you are in the company through development. So what I say is depends on your venture, depends on what you're trying to do. For me, it gave me the focus, the vision, and now it's an international hub. Okay, and that's great.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I remember when we were talking and I was doing my own venture, thanks to him, buying part of a workshop in Sharjah, also following your weird thing in out of Dubai and Abu Dhabi, Sharjah, Ajman. So, and I remember from UAE people and the Emiratis, I have a lot of support. I had a lot of connections. They are willing to connect you. At the same time, I found that when there is time to keep working on something, they prefer to do the connection. This is something that they are doing perfectly. But at the time of raising capital, it's true that they are a little bit more risk averse. And if you don't follow with the trends, let's say, at that time, fintech or now artificial intelligence, it's very difficult to call their attention. I think it happens to you with the wind power.
Indeed, and depends on the type of capital you're raising too. For project finance, for developing solar, for instance, or developing other renewable energy projects. There's capital there, but for that initial seed capital in equity or even doing a Series A for such an innovative technology in a market that is not strategic for the country, other than, as I said before, for some companies that want to do this abroad, or that there's a supply chain also that can be leveraged in terms of steel manufacturing. There are great. I have a great friend with one of the largest yards in Jebel Ali, and we're working closely with them. That's as related to what I'm doing now to Gazelle. That's how I could leverage this.
That's great. So, yeah, thanks for that. Let's jump a little bit more into Gazelle and the innovation. So this is an innovative system patented by you or your company or your uncle in the gold medal mathematics, whatever. Yeah. And I mean, what are the biggest challenge? Because I suppose that when you are developing something that the big corporations didn't do it, probably is because they found some technical problems that they don't want to face. Or they don't want to overcome for the financial cost or whatever, risks. How did you find the technical? First of all, what are the technical challenges that this solution has, and how you overcome to solve all of them?
In terms of challenges, I can speak about 3 pockets, not only for us but for the whole industry. Firstly, and this is not only for floating wind, it's a challenge that some of the key pieces of that puzzle of the energy transition I was describing before, we all face. Because some technologies are mature enough in terms of levelized cost of electricity, there are regulations in place, there is a supply chain. Other technologies not, and the first issue is exactly that each country has their own rules and regulations, and some countries have already a roadmap that is advanced, and other countries they're still learning about this. They don't have a clear roadmap. You need the right policies as well to, as I was mentioning before, to coexist with all the different stakeholders. So each country has their own set of regulations, and some are laggards and some are ahead. But that would be the first one. All the permitting and planning processes are in some countries are very slow. Like for instance, you look in Germany for a fixed bottom project, the average timing for getting that permitting and planning is 7 years. So that's significant. I mean, as a business owner, running a company with very clever people, world-class talent, well, you need to pay the bills every month. You need to pay all the payroll every month. Doing that during 7 years until you get the permitting and planning, that's a challenge. So that's the first one. The second challenge I will highlight is the supply chain or the infrastructure. This is a big problem in the energy transition. Firstly, the grid is a big problem. All the way you're going to be moving the electrons, the grid needs to be there, and in some areas there is not.
No way.
So that's why also solutions, pushing solutions like energy storage, or in the future, improving the efficiency of all the electrolysis processes and converting all this into green hydrogen, that will be important. But that to me is part of the pieces that will be connected. At the moment, there are questions in terms of supply chain, in terms of, for instance, what's the type of port that you need? What's the draft at the port?
Yeah.
Because if the technology that you're going to deliver has a draft of 12, 13, 14, 15 meters, and some of our competitors that come from offshore oil and gas, the average water depth of draft at port is 7 to 8 meters. And as you have there, you're building their nuclear submarines, you have a big problem. So that means a significant investment. In Gazelle, we have a draft of 3.5 meters. It's one of the lowest drafts, if not the lowest in the world. So that's the third bucket, is the technology. That the technologies that can be mass produced, mass delivered at scale. We are now developing those technologies, and for that you need millions of euros, dollars, in the currency, in capital to deliver that. Initially, these are very capex intensive projects. Once all the technology is there certified and you are a bankable technology, then it's a very lean business model because what you are delivering then is a licensing contract, and you are delivering the services and all the adjacencies, the EPCA packages, you are co-developing, but initially it's very capex intensive.
Okay.
So as an entrepreneur, that's of course a challenge.
So I can imagine you like 7 or 6 years ago sitting there in Achman, going and having lunch in this restaurant and thinking, okay, I'm going to create a solution for wind power for the future, for the world. And you are going to enter in a business where very big players, and not only very big players in terms of money and capital, and it's also some of these companies related to the energy are very political in some countries, right? So how did you manage the partnership? Because you must decide if you are going to partner with them or what are you going to sell to them, so you don't have a lot of competitors that wants to destroy you, right? How did you manage these kind of agreements between what are your partners now, like you mentioned, for example, Iberdrola, and what will be your competitors in the future?
A company like Iberdrola, for instance, could be a client. Basically, you need to find your role within the supply chain. You need to firstly to identify a problem and then come up with a solution that, to me, you need to be first better or different. If not, don't waste your energy, don't waste your time, don't waste your capital. If you're coming up with something that someone else is doing, you need to be first better or different, and of course addressing a big problem. With that vision, then you need to deliver a strategy to get there. You need to deliver a strategy. So if you want to unlock this market, and to unlock this market, you need to keep stability and floatability for these huge wind turbines. You need to find, well, this is what we're doing. We're providing the technology, but we'll need to work with the companies that provide the wind turbine. You will need an EPCA, an engineering, procurement, construction, installation company with a large balance sheet because you are starting from scratch. So now Gazelle is endorsed by some leading EPCAs in Japan or in Portugal. So getting there, it hasn't been easy. But you need to work all along with your supply chain. So you need to understand very well who is your client. In our case, our clients are energy developers. So these are companies like Mazda here or Iberdrola. This is the type of client that we want to work with. And you need to know very well your role within that supply chain, and also understand that it's going to take time to the risk, the company and the technology. This is like an onion with many layers, and you basically raise
to peel.
Yeah, you raise
by little. Yeah.
In this case, it's very you cannot bootstrap a company like this unless you start delivering services, because to get to a technology that is bankable, that requires significant capex investment to get there. So in a case like Gazelle, bringing the right partners, institutional investors and strategic investors has been very important to the risk, both the company and the technology. And then you raise capital, you the risk that external layer of the onion, you bring technical experts, you start building your quality management system, your processes, there is the technology, you get this certification, you get this commercial contract. Okay, then you are at a lesser level of risk, and you can bring aboard a different partner. And that's the way you do it, depending on your exit strategy.
Yeah, and how did you manage, for example, or how did the market react when you showed your solution? Like, because you said like first the fastest or the different one, right? So you decided to be the different one with this solution. How did the market react when you said that Iberdrola could be your potential customer or is your customer? When you show something super different, didn't you find some of them saying, no, we tried that already, it didn't work? How did you manage to really convince that this is a solution that can work for them?
Well, we believe at Gazelle that we are first, better, and different. And that's of course, everyone believes the same in their own technology. But what is undeniable is this is a truly innovative technology. And when you have a truly innovative technology, you have further room to optimize it. So in terms of weight, for example, we are in the very low end of the continuum. At 50 megawatt scale, we weigh approximately 3,000 tons of steel. Okay. That's very, very low. Low weight. If you look at standard technologies, the first generation of technologies, they can weigh between 6,000 and 10,000 tons of steel. So it's about that. It's about being very quick to assemble, being very quick to mass produce. But that's the promise that we need to deliver to the world, and that's part of all the innovation roadmap. So I would say when you start initially, you are talking to very clever, very technical people in these huge companies, very smart people. They have a lot of them experience already doing marine offshore operations. So they've seen every type of failure and way, right? As our friend over there. So to convince those people, you definitely need very clever people on your side too. You need to build that structure. You have that vision, you set the strategy, as I was saying before, and then you need the right structure in order to execute those strategies. So if you're in this case, the strategy is to, as I was saying, we had to raise equity initially at top level. Now we're at the stage where we can raise further, not just equity, but project finance. We were able to get some supplier finance too, with some engineering firms initially. You need to understand the landscape where you are. Have a very clear strategy that will change a lot, of course. It will change as you take action, as you were saying before, and then bring the right partners. And for that, you need to kiss a lot of frogs. Always,
you told me that.
Always say, right? You kiss 100 frogs and you find
500 in LinkedIn every month, right?
That's right.
Yeah.
So you find your
frogs.
princess or your prince. You need to turn a lot of rocks, and you are rejected a lot. And when you are starting, the technology has changed a lot too. We moved from initially using pulleys, and we had bending fatigue. And I was at 3 a.m. in Alain, couldn't sleep. Like, how I solved the bending fatigue of the pulleys, and called my uncle, and we are speaking at 4 a.m. And we after that we decided we get rid of the pulleys and we put these other levers, and that's how innovation works. Or I remember being in Japan with a big training house, like 2-hour meeting, like 12 Japanese. One speaks only for 10 seconds. But what that gentleman said in 10 seconds totally changed the way I was thinking about this. We moved from tubular members to flat panel structure, and now we can lever into shipyards and all the supply chain in Asia that is ready to use flat panel technology. Yeah. And that accelerates a lot the mass production. So a lot of times is you are kissing frogs, and you don't know if that's going to be the prince or the princess eventually.
So we are talking now about kissing frogs, and we are talking about the product itself and the innovation, that it's an amazing journey. Where did you kiss more frogs? In the innovation part of it for developing a good product, or in the financial, because you said that you need a lot of CapEx. So how do you convince the CapEx shareholders to say, hey, you need to invest here because we will develop something innovative, new, faster, and different?
I think initially depends on your role. I'm a member of the board, and I'm the CEO and founder. So I've been pushing and raising all the capital, and now it's different because initially I had to do everything. Initially I had to be the CTO, I had to be the COO, I had to be the CEO, I had to be the CFO, I had to be everything. Now it's very different. Now we have a world-class team with people leaving. Our CFO, for instance, has just left a few months ago Avangrid, the public company of Iberdrola. We have exceptional talent in the technical team too, but to get there, you need to raise the company, the technology to bring that talent. So a lot of frogs initially to raise the capital. The first equity. I was the first investor. It took me 3-4 months to bring the first institutional capital investors, Covalis Capital, with it. This is they own several hedge funds in the UK. They are infrastructure funds. They manage $1.6 billion. Well, they have in assets under management, 1.6 billion. We brought aboard also Mr. Valentin Torresonal del Pino,
Del Pino.
So from founding family of Ferrovial in Spain.
Ferrovial, yeah.
They help us de-risk more the company, start looking for a CTO, get some certification from DNB, so we de-risk the technology. Second equity investment round, we brought aboard Catapult Ocean, which is a Norwegian venture capital, and we have all the investors from the first round participating too. Third equity investment round, we brought in our first strategic investor, Wakwon, which is one of the oldest shipping companies from Hong Kong. So we brought aboard also more institutional capital from Portugal, UK, Spain. So it's a way of basically you de-risk the company, the technology, as I was saying, and you bring the next partners. Of course, now at this stage also getting commercial contracts, that helps a lot too, because you find your product market fit, or you find that there is a demand from the market. It's taken a while to get there. It's taken 3 years to get to this point. Yeah.
Well, and I consider that it's very fast. In 3 years, I mean, I didn't open nothing like compared to this, right? So, I mean, congratulations again for that. So now talking about the innovation and how did you manage all of this technology? What is the part that you are most proud about it?
About the technology itself?
Yeah, or the full company. I don't know. For example, the meeting that I had in Japan and I raised $5 million. What is the part that you are more proud about it? Or
I mean, one of the moments I was the most proud is I started this because I wanted to help my uncle. My uncle had been for a very long time. He's an inventor. He didn't generate income for a very long time. So the moment we got serious with this, we closed our first contract with an engineering firm. We raised capital. We appointed him CTO. That was a very emotional moment for me. Very emotional moment for me, and that made a lot of sense. And then as you keep the risking the company and technology, well, you start to realize that this can play a very important role in the world. You can realize this can provide clean, affordable energy, and that's why to me I feel still very frustrated every day because we are far away from that vision. But what I see is this could be in some of the markets I've mentioned, you name it, in the Philippines, in Japan, in Celtic Sea, providing clean, affordable energy to businesses, to hospitals, to schools. That's part of the fire. You need to fuel the fire every day to think about that. All the families that we have 40-something employees. We are recruiting actively. If you add supply chain, you can multiply that 3 times. Because every time you do this type of project from a marine operation point of view, you need all sorts of expertise. So I'm proud of that. I'm proud of all the families that are now living thanks to Gazelle, and they are connected to something important. That's very important for us too. We're on a mission to deliver this technology as soon as humanly possible and accelerate the floating offshore industry at scale. We need to create that snowball effect, make it bigger and bigger and bigger. There's a lot to push still. This is only chapter 1, and I strongly believe this will be an industry that will be global and international by the mid of next decade. So we are still in 2024. We still need to push this a lot during the next 5 to 10 years.
Yeah,
a lot to read on this. Is only chapter 1.
Yeah, that's amazing. In chapter 1, so we have the product, we have the capex and the raising capital, we have the connection with something bigger than him, that the company itself. But let's ground it into the reality. Let's talk about costs. So what are the main costs that you have in this company? And do you think that offshore wind turbines will be able to compete in cost with some other technologies, like, for example, the bottom one, the one that are in the field?
So the key KPI here is the levelized cost of electricity. And that, of course, there is capex impacts a lot. So the cost of the foundation, the cost of the turbine. That's why the industry, there's a debate going on now on whether you should go larger in terms of turbine size. For instance, some of the Chinese OEMs, they don't want to cap the size. The only way to limit the only limitation is the size of the blade because of the materials or the carbon fiber, the resins. You cannot go more than 150 meters in blade. At the moment that's sorted, they want to go larger. In Europe, that's different because there's a huge investment needed in order to keep innovating. And if you don't deliver projects, that's a big problem happening now with the Western OEMs. And of course, all the infrastructure. What's the type of vessel? Do you need a special operation vessel to install this turbine? Do you need a special crane? How are you going to deliver all that, as I was saying before? So CapEx is important, but also OpEx is very important. If you have an issue, you are further offshore, and one of your wind turbines shut down because you just have a typhoon, and you have 3 turbines shutting down. What are you going to do? Are you going to tow back to port? Are you going to deliver that major component replacement strategy offshore? So OpEx is very important too, and it depends a lot on the area where you're going to do this. Depends a lot on the supply chain. So to me, the key is in terms of levelization of electricity. At the moment, we could deliver between 1 million to 1.4 million euros per megawatt installed. In Gazelle, we are working very close with supply chains to aim to bring this down to 1 million euros per megawatt installed, and we have an innovation roadmap to deliver between 700,000 and 800,000 euros per megawatt installed. So in short, there will be some countries where floating offshore wind doesn't make sense. Don't do a floating offshore wind project in the UAE, where you have huge solar capacity and you can deliver a project for 3 cents per kilowatt hour. But how about the North Sea? And you can then, in the future, you could even convert all that into green hydrogen and use the pipeline already from oil and gas to deliver that green hydrogen. How about in Portugal, for instance? How about in Italy, in Greece, in Japan, in South Korea? There are countries where floating wind will be essential, not only to transition to renewables, but for energy security purposes too. So in some countries, it will make sense to do floating wind. In other countries, it will make sense to stick to onshore. The reality is, to me, it's very obvious. It's obvious, and that's one of the reasons why I jump into this industry too, because the best sites in onshore wind in mature markets are now being taken, or you need to pay a premium. If you look, for instance, on the onshore wind market in Europe, the best sites are taken. So the industry is moving further offshore. The industry is moving from being onshore to being fixed bottom, and the fixed bottom projects are piled to the sea. But that also generates problems from a social point of view, because you need to pile. You need to pile because it's all sort of social impact, and you are limited. The highest is 58.4 meters in terms of height. Maybe in the future we can go beyond. At the moment, you go to more than 60 meters, and some countries don't have you go immediately to deeper waters. Yeah. So then is where you have, as I said before, 83% of the wind resource is on deep waters. To me, it's obvious that the industry will move from onshore to fixed bottom to deeper waters. In some countries, no, it will not happen because you have the potential, or you can do solar, or you will use a different source of energy. But in some markets, this is going to be one of the largest renewable energy industries or markets. That's what we're pushing, and that's what I see is going to happen by 2035.
Okay. So one of the problems that you are solving is the land scarcity, let's call it like that.
Yeah.
But if you see Gazelle in the next 10 years, what would be the most sustainable impact that you believe that you can achieve?
Well, first of all, this is we are delivering clean, affordable energy. And the end is wind power, as I said before, and in a way that is less intermittent. We are speaking to a number of companies, leaders also, and we will like to use green steel as well. So the steel platforms that we will produce, we want to use it with the steel. We can also deliver other materials like concrete. Okay. But all the supply chain process as well should be traced in terms of CO2 emissions and bringing down as much as we can. We have shareholders like Catapult, and their whole purpose and mission is to protect marine ecosystems. So we are very careful about that. Our solution, as I mentioned before, depends on the type of seabed, but you don't need to pile the anchoring system. So it's seeking to protect marine ecosystems. Okay. Our moorings, I didn't mention this because it's more technical, but we are reducing 75% the length of the let's say standard catenary lines. So if you look at standard technologies, let's say at 100-meter water depths, every 20-meter down, you need to go 15 length with steel chains. And those steel chains erode the seabed. And we are moving away from there. We are having the footprint of a tension-like platform, and we are moving towards synthetic materials. And in the future, we would like to also explore opportunities with aquaculture projects, with fisheries, the ability to create fishing corridors. All those are discussions and R&D projects that are happening already. But what the industry needs is to deliver bankable technologies that can be mass produced so we can create that momentum, and we can start delivering all that pipeline. And by mid next decade, have the first large-scale commercial floating offshore wind farms, multi-gigawatt scale. That's our goal. That's what we're doing. That's why I'm here. That's why I want to wake up tomorrow morning. You know, we need to become not only the preferred choice for developers, but my vision is that Gazelle technology will become a standard in the industry. Okay. And that's what we're working so hard to do that.
Quick question, what is the valuation of the company right now, if you can?
The last equity funding round in 2022, we closed out more than, the post-money valuation was more than 60 million euros, but that was a lean investment without, no type of preferred equity, so more than 60 million euros in post-money. And we've achieved significant traction, both industrially and de-risking the technology, as well as commercially. So now we are discussing the next equity funding round. We recently closed approximately 8 million euros in convertible loan notes from strategic and institutional investors from Hong Kong, from Portugal, from Spain, from the US. Okay. And we will do a qualified financing round within the next 12 months. So of course we need to deliver value to our shareholders. At least 2 to 3 times the last equity funding round. That's where the company should be, having achieved all these different milestones.
That's great. Okay, I am asking because I invested in the very first stage, and I really want to know what is the value now.
So our initial investors have already got more than 12 times the return of the investment based on the last equity investment round. The initial seed capital investors got more than 12 times on the return. Okay. Then we need to keep that trend. But to me, the important matter is to get commercial traction, to make industrial traction. Yeah. The risk the company, the risk the technology, start delivering this at scale, and at the end, the value to our shareholders will come if we focus on this element.
Okay. Do we have any questions there, or? I mean, I have a couple just about the entrepreneurship. I know that in Esade, and there are many people trying their own thing. But if there is any question so far, we can go ahead. I will check the chat, as you told me.
Yeah, thank you. With the LCOE of solar PV being competitive, so how do you see the offshore wind catching up with the levelized costs, and what challenges you face with the solar PV still being more competitive in the future, the levelized costs?
I believe it's great that we've got to a point where solar SPV. I've seen projects here in the Middle East, 2-3 cents per kilowatt hour, and that's amazing. And the world really needs that. I don't consider solar as a competitor, because in some areas we need solar. So in other areas you cannot use solar. You will need to use wind power or hydro or floating offshore wind. I think it's great that solar has got as a mature technology to that point. There are more, from a geopolitical point of view, also there are opportunities that some countries should move quick if they don't want to lose that race in other pieces of the puzzle. Because now, as you see, China is the largest manufacturer. So there are some countries that have realized that, and there's a race happening now. And I'm glad that that's accelerating the transition too. In a nutshell, I don't see solar as a competitor. I have a very good friend that is doing floating solar, for instance, floating solar. And the world needs floating solar, and needs onshore solar PV, and needs onshore wind, and needs 6 bottoms. So to me, I'm totally obsessed with solving my piece of the puzzle, and I trust one day we can connect all the pieces.
Thank you.
So talking about entrepreneurship, if somebody, now we are coming into the final stage, I think we are right on time, right? Okay, so to the final stage. So if anybody has any question, just stand up or raise your hand, and we can do it. But I would like to recall the conversation that we had at the beginning about, entrepreneurship, right? And this is something, it's a journey that I've been through as well. And I identify that most of the entrepreneurs has a lot of fears when they, need to go to the market, need to go something real. Because in Excel, you can do whatever. In PowerPoint, everything sounds and looks fantastic. But when you need to go to the market, it's a different story, right? I remember Jon was, he bought a car that I told you not to buy, but he bought a car. And he was having the car always in the garage, in the workshop. And it was, I mean, so many times that the owner of the garage came to him and started having a friendship. And then the guy was looking for an investor to build another workshop, another garage. And I love cars. So I remember that you destroy the fear that I have of all the Excels that I think a workshop could be here or there. You told me as well that when there is a fragmentized market, you can make money by doing some, some compiling and offer a good solution to the market by doing that. I tried to do that, and you did. I mean, you just demolished the fear that I have in going to the market because you put me the first meeting with that person and with the sponsorship and also the Mirati that was going to invest as well.
Okay.
So what was your biggest fear and who helped to solve you and how did you manage to go through it?
I think you need to condition yourself to.
First of all, you have fears.
So of course, we have fears, but you need to condition yourself to constantly push yourself of what's comfortable.
Mm-hmm.
And the fact that coming here was important for me. That. Coming to the UAE was it was a big change.
Yeah.
So you start pushing yourself, and of course, the first time you go to a meeting as such, you can be trembling, you can have nausea. But once you've done a few hundred, then you are still there.
Yeah.
You don't feel that much. But I think having a healthy fear is good. I think that most of the most beautiful things of life are on the other side of fear. Of course, you need to condition yourself and do whatever it takes to have your mind screwed in a way that at least you take action despite the fear. I think the more action you take, the less fear you feel for that.
And did you consider any time quitting and doing something else, or?
Not this, never. On Gazelle, never. This is more. It's not a job. It's not. It's a purpose. So you don't consider that. You are aware of many risks that could derail the company. Many risks, not only technically, many risks. Sometimes you wake up in the middle of the night thinking about that. But I think if you focus on let's say you focus on your strategy, on what you need to focus on taking action, then you don't have that much time to think about the fears. Okay. The fact that we have I set up a board of directors also very quickly, and that's something that I strongly recommend if you're going to do something like this, because they can help you to see problems, big problems, before you can see them. So you avoid big issues by having a board of people that has been there, has done it, people that has been doing business for 30, 40 years in that industry, or that they are leaders, industry experts. That was very important to me. And at the end, as an entrepreneur, I put the energy, I'm rowing, and the board of directors helps you to steer the boat. I think having mentors or having a board of directors and talking regularly, I talk every Saturday and every Sunday with the members of my board, with my directors, with some of my shareholders now. The shareholders become allies to you. And when you have fear of something, or you have a big obstacle or problem, it's good to let them know how you're thinking, how you think you can solve the problem. It's like a chess game, to tell them what are the next moves in that chess game. And you listen to that advice. And at the end, as the Kenny Rogers song, The Gambler, says, you need to know when to hold them, and you need to know when to fold them. So you need to know what advice you need to follow and what advice you need to.
Okay.
At the end, it's if things go south, it's your own decision as CEO also.
Do you think that you need to be vulnerable in front of them?
You need to be what?
Vulnerable, like, or you need to communicate your fears, or you need to be super strong and nothing affect me, or.
In terms of raising capital, well, I think you need to give it certainty, but depends on your own story. That depends on your own story and your own personality. Of course, you need to speak with certainty, and you need to condition yourself to feel that certainty, but not only to shareholders. I think to all your team, to all the people that you are driving and you are leading.
It could change depending on the leadership skills, and
I think you cannot also put yourself on a must. Because you are living this. You are living this 24/7, and you live ups and downs every day. Like today, I love this moment. I'm enjoying being here with you. But today I've been down 2 times, and then I've been up 2 times, and I don't want to look my phone because probably I'll go like down again, and then I'll go, and you are up and down all the time. So I think that gives you vulnerability, or you cannot get too cocky because you'll get slapped very quickly. And
That's absolutely, absolutely. Well, in the end, I think it's more, and I think we talk about this, to be authentic, right? It's not like this example is right and this is wrong. It's you need to be authentic, and from the authenticity of you, learn how to manage the different situation that come into you because you are this person. Is where you really learn the most. So we have a question there, right? Yes. Go ahead, please.
Congratulations where you are in this moment. Very good. Very enthusiastic. I'm an architect. I also engineer, and I designed. I'm from the Netherlands, and I designed an ocean wave power station with kind of an inventor like you, your uncle. But do you also had considered? I came a little bit later, so I didn't know. I didn't catch if your construction is also getting power out of the movement.
Yeah, no, very good point.
Because that's interesting. And so you have the wind and then the wave. Yep. Is that in it?
We are working with a Japanese developer on an R&D project for such purpose, because the balancing arms inherently could be used to capture that power. At the moment, we are very focused on wind, because we believe that the market is huge, like 300 gigawatt. That can be a $1 trillion market. So total addressable market for us is huge. But in the future, this technology could be used for any type of unconventional floating artifact. We also own proprietary software, which I didn't mention, but this could be used for floating hotels, or it could be used, the principle that is patented behind, because at the end it stabilizes the artifact. Could be used for this purpose as well. Absolutely.
So we're working on a big project together with Hendrik in the sea, floating island. So it might be interesting. And all maybe other underwater cities. So things are. It's interesting maybe to work together or to think for the future.
Absolutely, absolutely. What we say is, in terms of business model, we provide all the design and engineering. We own all the proprietary technology and put in place licensing agreements for the fabrication and construction of the floater. We are now moving. This is more not organic growth, more strategic growth. We acquire a naval engineering firm in 2022, which is vertically integrated, and we are forging now a JV with a large EPCA as well. So we are also looking at strategic growth opportunities. Further down the line in the future, we see we could get into supply chain, because some of the components are unique. And as I said before, some of our shareholders, for instance, these infrastructure funds, they will be very keen in seeing us developing projects in the future, or co-developing projects. But that's what I see in the next 5 years. I see combined opportunities with companies like yours for sure.
Nice.
On a personal level, what would you say were the biggest sacrifices that you had to make in order to make this successful?
Well, there is a pay price to action, and for doing this, I've sacrificed a lot. I had to sacrifice my family. I didn't see my family for a very long time, that was when I left Spain and I went to the UK, and maybe 6-7 years I sacrificed the friends I had then. When I started this, I sacrificed my health a lot. Now I've got back on track.
I see you very well.
I got back on track, but the start of this, I was working 100 hours a week, 110, 120 hours a week, and that was it. I sacrificed everything.
Do you regret it?
I don't regret it at all. I had to do it. The thing is, this is a marathon, although sometimes you need to be ready to take sprints. So the fact that I don't believe in balance. I don't believe in having a work-life balance. I hate that. I believe in leverage and in focus and being obsessed with something. So you need to know when you need to really focus on something. I had to travel a lot initially, because I had to learn where are the markets, where is the capital that wants to invest in this. Getting down to the first site, that was very tough. There were very few places with the right regulation, with the right electrical substation. That was very tough. Now it's different. Now we have an executive team, have a COO, a CTO, a chief financial officer, have teams beneath them, chief marketing officer. So that allows me to focus on where are my talents and where I can really increase shareholder value and push this company. But there's a pay price to action, and I believe, I said before, in 2 years we generated 60 million euros in equity value. In the first 2 years, you need to put your soul into doing that.
Yeah, I mean, following the first question, what would you think was your main attribute as a person that you think made it possible for you to build a company so quickly, and that made you stand out from the rest and made you able to find that focus? Because not everybody's able to work 100+ hours a week.
I think you need to sometimes think out of the box. And if everyone is going in that direction, we won't do this one. In the way of, if everyone is like, if 95% of the technologies come from offshore oil and gas, and they haven't been able to achieve an LCOE that is affordable at scale, let's follow a different approach. This is specifically done for this industry. We are following a shipbuilding approach. It's very innovative, very different. I think the ability to take action despite the rejection. When you send 500 LinkedIn messages a week, maybe 250 accepts, at least to me. And then you have like 10% of interviews. And the first time you go to an interview, if this is an industry for you, they will slap you. You don't know anything. Now, when you've done a few hundreds, then you start to know what you're talking. When you've been working 120 hours per week consistently, year after year after year after year, and you've been in, you name it, so many countries and talking to, then you know what are the pain points of the industry. You become an industry expert then, simply by all the hours you've put into that. Yeah. And then you need to screw your head and do whatever it. For me, I like to exercise in the morning now, and I do my weekly report, and I enjoy speaking with Fede about business. And you need to find whatever works for you. I think doesn't matter what I say. Don't listen to me. Whatever you need to find your own way to keep that level of focus. I think.
Amazing. Thank you. Thank you very much.
So we are going to close now, and I'm going to follow your suggestion and being like opposite to the trend, and the trend is always in Instagram and so on. In 1 minute, I will tell you how to earn $10,000 per month, how to raise a company in 3 million. So I was going to say, what are your 3 pieces of advice? But I won't do it. I hope that you really get the energy of Jon, you get what you really like from him, and you take it for yourself. Probably something that you can develop. You have him as a contact. I don't want to make like a conclusion or any summary of something. I will let Jon, if you want to say something to the people here and to the people streaming. And for me, that's all. And we can go to the networking session. Thanks, everybody, for coming here. Esade, the Spanish Business Council, and personally me, we are super committed to do these kind of events. And the best thing that we can get in return is that you come, you enjoy, and you get something back. So the floor is yours.
I will finish as I started. Thanks all for having me here. I really appreciate it. And I believe one of the biggest problems humanity has now is exactly this: is the production and consumption of sustainable energy. And this is going to take us titanic efforts within the next few decades. And there are many pieces in this puzzle that will need to be interconnected. And there are some of these pieces that they are not sorted out yet. From a technology point of view, from a supply chain infrastructure point of view, from the regulatory point of view. So don't think, sometimes it's scary to think that this problem will not get sorted by itself alone. This problem will get sorted because there will be very hardworking, smart people obsessed doing that. So everyone that has inside of his or her that bag or that seed of entrepreneurship, or not entrepreneurship, but that want to contribute to all this, there are a lot of opportunities and there are a lot of problems to be sorted. So it's very important, and I appreciate giving this type of exposure to a company like Gazelle that is trying to sort one of these pieces of the puzzle. So thanks a lot for your attention and questions. Very much appreciated. Thank you so much.